Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Hey, how's everybody going today? I hope that everybody is doing very, very well. It is Sunday, the 26th of March, 2023. It is 8 a.m. right here in New Zealand, and this is the NZ Travel Show. We are here to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. So go nuts. The live chat next to Laura over there is all yours. So go crazy for your questions. And yeah, we're also going to have a theme at some point this week. But let's say hello to everybody first.
Yeah, so in the live chat, we have Anthony Comstock saying Morena from Rodeo, California. What does Morena mean, Robin?
Oh, glad you asked. Morena means good morning in Maori, which is the local indigenous language right here in New Zealand.
We have Rick saying good evening from Berlin. Good evening, Rick.
Gute Nacht.
We have Beverly here saying howdy from Montana. She says, what about 5G in New Zealand?
Yeah, so we do have 5G in kind of like most of the populated places in New Zealand. You know, like all the big center, like for sure Auckland, you know, Christchurch, Wellington. So we do have 5G in those areas. Obviously, when you start getting a little bit more rural, you're going to have to rely on 4G, quite often 3G.
Yeah.
And since a lot of the traveling that you're going to be doing is going, you know, from one place to another, going through really massive swath of rural landscape, then at that point you may not be able to fully perfectly stream you know, all your videos
this live show while you're on the road.
But yeah, if you want to see what it kind of looks like how the quality actually drops on and off Beverly, we actually do have a video where we literally just film live. We basically broadcasted live our trip. I think that was from Rotorua to Auckland. And yeah, it's about a 3-hour drive, and you'll see, like, you know, it starts really, really good, you know, in the town of Auckland, and it drops pretty bad, and it's again really good when we arrive near Hamilton. Then it drops again.
There'll be sections where it just completely cuts out as well.
Yes, there's some sections where we're like, are we live? Is it happening? Yeah. And you know, so you get a bit of those kind of things. So yes, it's uneven, obviously, but it is not bad. Like, you're not going to be completely out of internet, and you know, with no way to connect home. You should be fine in pretty much most places you're going to visit in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Just reassuring words right here.
Yeah. We have Sherry saying, good morning, guys.
Hey,
good
Sherry,
morning,
how are you doing today?
And we also have Nathan here saying, Kia ora, morena, everyone.
How are you doing, Nathan? All the way from Taupo, New Zealand, right in the center of the North Island. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, we're glad to have all of you guys on board. So as usual, you can put all your questions in the live chat. We always cover all the questions, or at least as many questions as we possibly can. And aside from that, we're going to cover a bit of a theme this week. So let's get started with that. Okay, Laura, what is the theme this week?
The theme is, what is the weather like in April?
So April is a fantastic month to travel in New Zealand. This is really when the crowd dies down, when the weather is still quite clement, and where most of the activities in New Zealand are still available. So it's one of the best time, or at least that's what we think, to travel around New Zealand. But obviously, weather is always a big concern for travelers when coming to New Zealand. So we're going to cover pretty much everything there is to do with the weather in April in New Zealand today in this video. Sherry says, I'm going good. I'm getting a piercing today.
Ooh.
On top of your 9 tattoos, you're getting a piercing. Sherry, there's no
Very
skin
decorated.
left. Yeah, there's no skin left. You realize that you're a person, not a Christmas tree, right? But yeah, that's awesome. Are we doing well? How are we doing today, Laura?
We're doing awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
Great. Nice Sunday morning.
I have a
here in
little
New
bit of a
Zealand.
gravity voice, but you know, it's all going to be going well.
No, we're good.
I'm excited about the Patreon live show that we're going to be doing together, Sherry, Lite today, as we're going to cover all the different cameras that we use when we travel. And so, yeah, that should be quite fun. That's something that I think you and Fabio asked for, so I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Nathan says, I can't believe it's very close to Easter. Yeah, we've noticed all the Easter eggs in the supermarkets, but Robin and I are still like, when is Easter?
Yeah.
Obviously, the date changes every year, but yeah, we actually don't know when it is this year. If anyone can tell us, put it in the live chat. Maybe we could finally get this answered once and for all, rather than us sort of like walking around the supermarkets wondering, when are we actually allowed to eat these eggs?
Also, I would like to point out that Laura doesn't really care about the date of Easter. What she cares about is the date after Easter, when all the chocolate goes on sale, and then she can
Goes
go
on
and buy.
sale. It doesn't really go on sale. We on our first year in New Zealand, we thought that maybe, like other countries, like their chocolate Easter eggs would go on sale after Easter, and they were still like about the same price, I think, on only slightly, less expensive when we were going around. So, we thought we were being savvy, but no.
No.
Didn't work that time.
So Sherry's in Australia, and she said we have had hot crust buns in the shops since January.
Oh.
Wow. So Laura, for people which are not from like any of the Commonwealth country, what are hot crust buns?
So hot cross buns are basically a type of bread which has a slightly different coloured cross shape over the top of it, and it usually has...
It's a sweet bread, right? It's like
brioche
kind of bread,
it
right?
usually has either like sultanas or raisins in it, maybe a little bit of cinnamon sometimes. So yeah, very, very nice. You usually traditionally have it around Easter, but apparently you can have it since January. You can just eat it whenever you want. You don't have to wait.
Do you have it
till
just
Easter.
straight up, or do you put some stuff in there?
Usually they're nice toasted, and then, with a bit of jam is quite nice. But you
There's
can...
nothing that Laura doesn't put jam on.
I'll just put a bit of butter on. I don't put anything on because, there's usually something nice and sweet inside anyway, so it tastes good, whatever, but toasted is the way to go, in my opinion.
Somebody's screaming in the live chat.
Kiwi Lauren says, hello from Double Digits Countdown. Yay, it's finally happened. 98 days until I fly to New Zealand. Hopefully all is well, and at your end, all good here. Technically spring, but still wintry weather.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of the weather, that's great. Fantastic transition. I love it. So let's begin our coverage of the New Zealand weather in April with a few travel tips for New Zealand in April. And to do that, I'm going to pass you to the beautiful Laura.
All right, so we're going to start with some tips. And our number one tip for April is a very unpredictable month in terms of the weather. So make sure you're prepared for everything, including warm clothing, also some lighter clothing when it is actually a little bit hotter, and also some wet weather gear. As always in New Zealand, it can rain at any time. Another tip is to make sure that you still are having high factor sunscreen in your day pack for when you're traveling around New Zealand. Even in April, the UV rays can be pretty harsh. And as for the tourist season, April is usually a quieter season to be traveling around in New Zealand. So you don't usually have to worry too much about booking most of your accommodations or your activities, perhaps except for a few exceptions, like, say, if you are wanting to stay in Milford Sound at the Milford Sound Lodge and it's the only paid accommodation in the area, then those sort of places you might want to always book all year round. But for most places, you can be a little bit more spontaneous when you're traveling in April. But on a similar note, also it is the school holidays during April, so that's New Zealand school holidays. So there will be, the more family tourist attractions may be a little bit busier during those times. So you might want to look up the term dates for the April school holidays and just maybe make a bit of bookings on that couple of weeks that happens. And then finally, when you're doing some hiking, as April is a great month to do some hiking, just make sure that you check the hiking trail description on the Department of Conservation website, because sometimes after April, there can be some times when bad weather causes some of the hiking trails to be washed out or damaged. So make sure that your track that you want to do is actually open on the Department of Conservation website.
Boom! Too easy to travel with Laura's tips. I love it. Okay, so people are having some comments about both traveling and hot cross buns. So let's start with traveling comments. So Beverly says that she's 16 days from a trip to New Zealand, which is pretty exciting. And David Burrow, how are you doing, mate? That's been a while. He says he's excited like Lauren. He's now less than 2 months until his trip. He was supposed to make it 3 years ago. Mate, the excitement. I don't think anyone has been as excited as you have been for as long as you have been for your trip. That is pretty cool. Okay, now there is also a big hot cross buns amount of comments right here. So Sherry says she saw Vegemite hot cross buns recently.
Oh gosh,
that
absolutely
sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard.
It would ruin it.
No, you just rattled the both of us right here instantly. Okay, Kiwi Lauren is talking about instruments. She says, hot cross bun has a whole different meaning to me as a band teacher.
Hot cross buns.
This is thing in New Zealand too. Every beginner instrumental musician ever plays hot cross bun, 3 notes. And Sherry said we learned hot cross bun in New Zealand. I don't know what that is. Yeah,
okay,
I was about to ask.
So I also learned that back in like primary school. So where we had a recorder. You know what a recorder is?
The most annoying instrument
the
in the world?
most annoying instrument in the world.
No, I know what that is, yeah.
And like the first song you learn to play is Hot Cross Buns, which is just like doo doo doo, which is hot cross buns.
Okay. So it could be anything with 3 words, but you guys decided to go for hot cross buns.
Yeah, I don't know why those words were chosen. I
could
do
be
not.
cat and mice.
Yeah, I have no idea where the origins of that comes from, but yeah.
All right, I
completely forgotten about that link there.
Yeah, I've never ever heard of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Beverly says I used to hear hot cross buns in California.
Elementary schools.
Okay.
Yeah, it must be like across I guess English speaking countries and stuff. The school halls are ringing with doo doo doo.
Why give recorders to like a classroom full of kids? It just sounds like madness. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Sherry says my first trip to New Zealand was booked in 2020. I can't wait to finally come in October. So same thing, 2020 and you're coming in October. So that's also going to be about 3 years in the making. Oh my God, all those things are finally happening. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Kiwi Loren's happy she's not alone. I know the beauty of hot cross buns.
Oh, she knows the rest of the lyrics. I had forgotten the rest of the lyrics, but yeah. 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. I bet that means
inflation. We need to adapt it for inflation. 1 for
$5, $6.
And she says every day until I die, or at least I retire. Nathan says hot cross buns started popping on the shelf in supermarkets right at the start of the year. Okay, so in New Zealand as well, apparently they are here in January. I have to say we're not really up to the latest news of the baking aisle of the supermarkets in New Zealand, as Laura does a lot of baking herself.
Yeah.
So we end up eating Laura's hot cross buns.
Yeah, I have not
Are you gonna make hot cross buns?
I would like to.
Right.
But I think as soon as I said there was cinnamon in it, you were like, oh no,
That's
no,
fine.
I don't
try it.
want to eat hot cross buns.
Hot cross buns with cinnamon? That's nonsense. And she says, I just about to spit out my water when Laura sang the inflation lyrics. Best ever. These buns are getting so expensive. Yeah. Hot crowd buns, so expensive. I can't afford them. Fun song.
Make it yourself.
And Beverly says, I'm going to be in New Zealand Anzac Day. What should I expect? That's a really good question, Beverly. So in Anzac Day, what often happens is that the local RSA, which is the Retired Servicemen Association, it's you will find them in pretty much every town in New Zealand. It says RSA, and their symbol is a red poppy flower. And so usually the local RSA will do a dawn service where they will do a small kind of ceremony to remember those that have fallen. In more major places, you will have larger services that are going to be attended by local politicians and these kind of things. So that's kind of like the main thing that you can expect. Now, on your everyday, like during the daylight, you will have a lot of people which actually are going to try to raise funds for veterans. So you're going to have some people passing with buckets and selling like poppy pins.
Yeah.
So you're going to find a lot of that. And when it comes down to food, we were talking about hot cross buns. You're going to find Anzac biscuits pretty much everywhere. So Anzac biscuit has like cookies that don't taste good. But it's kind of traditional kind of food. It's just the cookies, but without the choc chip or the stuff.
There's cookies and I think there's oats in there.
Yeah, so it's just the ingredient that don't taste good.
Sometimes a bit of a drizzle of chocolate on top. But you can find Anzac biscuits in New Zealand all year round if you happen to be travelling around.
They're just more prominent in that time of the year.
I mean, you could... eating them around Anzac Day would be the most, apt way of eating them.
And then some museum may have some specific exhibition for a certain amount of time that they will have. So it used to be the case in the Te Papa Museum, but now they have an exhibition that was temporary and that's forever.
Yeah.
So but the Auckland War Memorial Museum may have first obviously the dawn service and also a special exhibition. The Army Museum in a small town in Rotorua, which is on its way between the Tongariro National Park down to Wellington, like somewhere in between. So you will have also maybe some special exhibition right here as well. So that's kind of what you can expect. It's not the biggest thing in New Zealand, but there is a few things that does happen. And you look like I angered some people, such as
Sherry says, Robin, I'm offended. Anzac biscuits are amazing, especially homemade ones.
Maybe it's because I just had the shop ones, and the shop ones are not that great. But I'm sorry, a topping for your cookie shouldn't be oats. A topping for your cookie should be, something awesome like chocolate or berries or, stuff like that. I think they put honey as well in Anzac cookie.
I think so. Something or some sort of syrup.
They're not the worst. They just they have less taste.
Robin prefers chocolate chip cookies.
That is true. All right. So that's kind of what you can expect for Beverly for Anzac. I love this question. That was great. Okay, Nathan says it's like putting Christmas stuff away and then bring out the Easter things at the start of January. Okay, so you guys just swap that around in the supermarket.
And then once Easter's over, it's time for Halloween.
It's in October. That's going to be a long free period of that. But isn't it Valentine's Day in between Easter and
No, Valentine's Day's already been. That's in February.
But that's what I mean. It's between Christmas and Easter, right? So you get Valentine's Day in there. Okay, Azewara says, good morning, great people. Good morning, Azewara. I hope you're having a lovely day, indeed. Sherry says, I'd love to see what it's like to see a dawn service in New Zealand. I'll be marching here. That's great. So they're usually really small because...
It depends which town you go to.
So you're going to have like a big one in each of the big cities, right? But, if you go to like those small traditional one from the RSA, like you will have like 20 people, right? It's relatively small. It's kind of cool, more intimate. It's kind of fun. And then you obviously have an afterwards, there usually is like a little table with like coffees and stuff and people are just hanging out for a little bit.
Coffee and Anzac biscuits.
Exactly, okay, Beverly says we have Poppy Day in the US on April the 26th.
In the UK we have a Remembrance Day, which is also the same symbol of the red poppy as well. Yeah.
Golden syrup is in the Anzac biscuit, Laura.
Golden syrup.
I spoke out of turn.
Not honey. Do not go off Sherry's recipe,
Sherry
Robin.
needs a new title as the Anzac biscuit queen of the NZ Pocket Guide crew right here.
Beverly also says, same war remembered, Flanders Field poppies. Poppy pins are given away by the American Legion Veterans Organization.
Nice.
Yeah. Kiwi Lauren says, we don't do daylight savings time here in Saskatchewan.
Every time. Sasquatch?
Sasquatch.
The Sasquatchans?
Sorry for offending your place of residence, Kiwi Lauren.
Terrible person.
Saying
you are.
we are our own time zone on the computer setting, separate from the rest of Canada. When do you do daylight savings in New Zealand? Must be soon.
Yeah, it's coming at some point in April, I think. So yeah, it's coming at some point in April.
We'll have to do a quick look up.
Yeah, I
quick
cannot
search.
remember. There is.
It usually sneaks up on us. All of a sudden, we end up doing the live show just after daylight savings has happened, and
yeah. The thing is, it used to be like something quite important you had to remember, but now the phone does it itself. The computer does it itself. It's kind of like not really.
Your
something
neighbor tells you about it, pretty much.
Yep. Pretty much that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking quickly. On our stuff.
I would just give it a quick Google.
Yeah, I can't find it just right here. I'll find it in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is Sherry saying?
Sherry says, our daylight savings ends next week.
Yeah, so it's about the same time for us. Yeah.
I know, like across the world, it always seems to be like the daylight savings is within a week of each other.
Yeah, so it's on April the 2nd that we're gonna change the time. So let's say in less than a week. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna
throw a spanner in the works for our live session.
Yeah. We'll probably none of us will be in sync, and we're gonna have less than 10 people this time watching. Usually at the moment we're averaging 10 people watching the live show, which massive community right here. And this time next week we're probably gonna have like about 5 because we will mess up the time zone. So yay, fun times.
Yay.
All right. So let's keep going with our. Should we? No, you know what? Let's check up with Armand first. What about that? Yeah.
Let's have a look at Armand, who is a French backpacker in New Zealand, who is here for his gap year doing a working holiday. And every week we check out what he's been up to. And this week, well, let's see.
Kia ora guys, this is Armand reporting live from Rotorua on the 24th week of my working holiday in New Zealand. So I'll let you guys take a guess as to where I'm headed right now. Hint, it involves hot water and a very unique blend of minerals. Yes, that's right guys, it's the Polynesian Spa. I really love this place. I got to Rotorua yesterday, since I will be taking the Kiwi Experience bus from Rotorua to Taupo and all the way down to the south on Monday. So as you know, I came back from Tehran on Wednesday in I believe at 2 a.m. After I had a significant jet lag. It took me a couple of days to fully get over it. And funny story, as you know, I had the One Republic gig on Thursday. But I was supposed to go with my friends Leah and Zoe, but I almost missed it because I took a nap, but I overslept, and I basically woke up 15 minutes before the starting time that was indicated on the ticket. But thankfully, it actually started over around an hour and a half later. We had the pre-show and everything with a band called the Robinson. It was really nice. It was really a fabulous performance by One Republic. I love these guys. They really nailed it. And that was actually my first pop concert ever. I really enjoyed it. Then on Friday I was preparing my apartment because I was obviously going to check out, and we have the checkout inspection. I made sure everything was clean and in a pristine condition. I was basically just organizing my stuff, putting the unnecessary things from my journey in New Zealand into my storage locker, which was quite convenient. I feel like having rented the storage locker was something I must have done from the start, but I wasn't aware we even had this option. It's quite good for backpackers, since if you're going to travel within New Zealand or even during your working holiday, it allows you to not take all your stuff with you and pack light. And on Saturday I took the intercity bus from Auckland to Rotorua, where I am right now, and I did the Mount Tarawera hike this morning. It was absolutely awesome. I highly recommend this hike. It was really nice as a geologist to see different rocks and geological formations and structures. And I can't wait to meet Rob and Laura in Tuesday. That's going to be really cool. I guess that's all this week. Until next week, guys, cheers.
Amazing photos of Mount Tarawera there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and next week we're going to see Armand, which is going to be a lot of fun. So,
exciting.
Yeah, happy times. All right, speaking of photos, actually, today on the Patreon live show, so yeah, if you join us on Patreon, there is a link in the description below. You get plenty of awesome perks, including our help to help you with your itinerary, But on top of that, you get an extra 1 hour live show, and everybody has decided that today I'm going to be talking about all the different cameras that we use when we travel. So they're all prepared right here. And yeah, we'll look at that when during the Patreon live show. So yeah, speaking of photos, if you want to join us, well, you get to talk photos with us for about an hour after this. Yay! Fun times. All right, so in the meantime, let's continue let's continue with our coverage of the April weather. And this time around, we're going to be talking about the typical temperature in April in New Zealand. So Laura, take your position of power over there in the back, and let's get started. So April is a great time to travel in New Zealand, as I mentioned earlier on in this video. It is less busy and the weather is still relatively favorable, but nevertheless the weather can be extremely changeable in New Zealand in April, like it is pretty much all the time in the country. So let's go over what kind of temperatures you guys can expect. And let's start with northern New Zealand, which includes the region of Northland, the city of Tauranga, and the city of Auckland. Did I say that? Yeah, Auckland, yes. So that's about 15 degrees Celsius on average, which is 59 degrees Fahrenheit if you are one of those that use an archaic system of weather following things. Yes. Okay, then we're going to move on to central North Island. Hamilton, Taupo, and Rotorua are the main cities that you can expect there. And the average temperature there in April is 13 degrees Celsius, which is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If you want to travel around New Zealand in the southwest North Island, that is New Plymouth, Palmerston North, and even let's include Wellington May as well, that is an average of 14 degrees Celsius, which is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we're going to head to eastern North Island, which is Gisborne, Napier, and the Wairarapa region, and that would be an average of 12 degrees Celsius, which is 54 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, let's hope that the ferry is not cancelled this time, and let's try to make our way toward the South Island of New Zealand. I know this one was a deep jab for all of you traveling at the moment. It has been a bit chaotic on a ferry. And let's head to northern South Island with Blenheim and Nelson. Blenheim and Nelson have an average of 14 degrees Celsius, which is 57 degrees Fahrenheit on average. Western South Island, which is Westport, Hokitika, Milford Sound, that's an average of 11 to 13 degrees Celsius, which is 52 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's hop back to the other side. Let's take the Transalpine train and head to the eastern South Island with Kaikoura, Christchurch, and Timaru. And that's an average of 13 degrees Celsius, which is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. A nice road trip toward the Queenstown area, passing through beautiful Lake Tekapo, checking out Alexandra. That's an average of 9 degrees Celsius, 9 to 12 degrees Celsius, which is 48 to 54 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you feel like you have a bit of extra time to explore the deep south of New Zealand, the southern New Zealand, the city of Dunedin and Invercargill, you can expect 12 degrees Celsius, which is 54 degrees Fahrenheit. On average, all of those are obviously average temperature and things can change.
All right, that was a very nice commentary.
I got to make it fun. Okay, let's go back to the live chat. Beverly says the temperatures sound idyllic. Yeah, so obviously it can change a lot between between years, from year on year, right? You do know that the weather patterns are very unpredictable lately. due to this always fun global warming. So yeah, do be aware that it may not be what you will get this year, but that's what over the last 10 years we had on average. And to be quite fair, we are only about a week away from April, and the temperature kind of match. We have had some really hot afternoon.
We have,
and some really pouring down rain.
We've had hot afternoons, really cold, crisp mornings, really hot sunny days, but then we've had some pretty damp, sort of mild damp weather as well, so a bit of everything.
And Sherry says, so Beverly's from Montana in the US, right? And Sherry is from Australia, really hot. And Sherry's comment is...
Those temperatures are so cold!
I like how we get both sides of the coins with you ladies. I love it.
Yeah, that's always the thing with weather. It's like when people are just like, oh yeah, what's the weather going to be like? You can't really give your opinion because everyone's opinion is so different when it comes to the weather. So it's just best to sort of say, here's the temperatures. You sort of formulate your own opinion on that.
Yeah, that's I really often I kind of reply with a link to some comments that we receive, because we've got actually a lot of Indians that contact us and say, will I be cold in New Zealand? Well, I don't know. In my mind, India is really, really, really hot, right? But there is mountain chains in India as well, right? It's not a tiny country; it's pretty large. So yeah, we receive those questions quite often. It's kind of like, I don't know if you'll be cold, mate. I mean, Laura will always be cold.
I'm not.
You
I'm
can
not
drop
warm.
her.
I'm not warm until I go to a nice, hot, humid country like Samoa or something, and then I'm finally in my warm place. But
you can drop her anywhere in New Zealand. In summer, she'll still be cold, right?
Yeah.
So
depends on who you are.
Yeah. So if you're Beverly, you'd be very warm in New Zealand in April as she's leaving the snow. And if you're Sherry, she's gonna complain a lot about the weather and say she'd be cold all the time. Even if you travel in October, Sherry, it's gonna be colder than Australia. So you'll complain about the weather nonetheless. Sherry, speaking of her, she says Australia, so she's in Australia, sorry. Last week we had 38 in autumn, though this week it actually feels like autumn.
Wow.
Well, 38 degrees in autumn, we can't beat that in New Zealand, I'm sorry. We're not getting there.
It's very rare that the temperatures in New Zealand actually make it to 38.
Yeah. And what I was afraid of is happening. Kiwi Lorraine decided to pitch in with a terrible Saskatchewan
Always
weather.
making us feel cold.
Keep your Saskatchewan weather to yourself. She said our spring weather is here for sure. Wintry in the morning is minus 26 degrees Celsius on my run today. God, I hate reading your comments. I literally get a chill down my spine when I read your comments. And she says still a lot of snow, but then plus 2 degrees in the afternoon, so everything gets slushy and then freeze to ice again overnight. That sounds like the worst road conditions ever, right? It just gets slushy, then it gets super icy, so you're at night on like black ice. Sounds awesome.
Sounds like it's not safe to leave the home.
And Sherry says, yes, I will. I apologize in advance. No stress, Sherry. It's just good old fun. All right, so shall we continue with the weather in April, and shall we talk about the rainfall now? What about that?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about a more weather pattern in April, and let's start with the average rainfall in the country. So this is when we start getting some really beautiful colors on the tree. This is when we start getting all those orange and yellows in the tree, which is really cool. So you're gonna expect some like nice crispy sunny days, but there is still a lot of snow in New Zealand in April because there is snow all the time in New Zealand. So let's go over some of the average rainfall in the country. Okay, so let's get started with northern New Zealand. So you know it by now, it's Northland, Auckland and Tauranga. We expect 130 millimeters of rain, which is 5 inches for the month of April. In central North Island, it is the town of Hamilton, the lakeside town of Taupo, and the beautiful geothermal place that is Rotorua. You can expect about 70 millimeters of rain, which is 2.7 inches. If you head to the southwest North Island, we include everything. New Plymouth, Palmerston North, Wellington, you can expect 100 millimeters of rain, which is 4 inches. And to wrap up the North Island, if you are heading to the eastern North Island, that's Gisborne, Napier, and even the whole Wairarapa region, that's 70 millimeters of rain, which is 2.7 inches. Again, your ferry was cancelled, but you still made it to the South Island, which is really awesome. Northern South Island, Blenheim and Nelson, 60 millimeters of rain, which is 2 inches. If we head to the west coast with Westport, Hokitika, even the Franz Joseph and Fox Glacier area, all the way down to Milford Milford Sound, then this is where we get a lot of rain, right? 250 to 600 millimeters of rain. That's 10 to 24 inches of rain, people. So yeah, be prepared and come with your rain jacket. An umbrella is not enough. Okay, again, we are crossing the Southern Alps and heading Southern Alps, and we're heading to Kaikoura, Christchurch, and even Timaru, and you can expect 50 millimeters of rain, which is about 2 inches. In the inland South Islands, you get Lake Tekapo, you get Queenstown, and you get Alexandra. You can also expect about 50 millimeters of rain, which is 2 inches. And finally, if you head to Dunedin, Invercargill, all the way down, it's 60 millimeters of rain, which is 2.4 inches on average. So as you can see, it is still wet in New Zealand in April. Okay. Where are we at? Kiwi Lorenz says, hey, actually held it in for a long time, Robin. I reserved the comment, but the weather conversation kept persisting. Yeah, this is a weather, it's a weather prone video. So yeah, I was expecting that. I was just prepared for my spiny chill when you say that it's minus ungodly somewhere numbers. She says, we are very used to this type of weather and we have winter tires on our cars. Yeah, I bet you guys literally need to have actual nails on your tires to go with that much snow and stuff. Beverly says, Dargaville, the Coomera capital. How do you pronounce Coomera? Well, don't ask a Frenchman. Laura, how do you pronounce Coomera?
Also don't ask an English woman because, I'm going to probably butcher it because it's it's a Maori word, but Kumara or Kumara or...
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but mostly how we've heard it pronounced is just Kumara. Yeah, so...
And then she asks, anything interesting in Dargaville?
In Dargaville, you have... there is a museum there. Near Dargaville is the Kauri Museum.
Yeah, we have a video on it. I think you will dig that, Beverly, like knowing that you're really into trains and it's kind of like yesteryear kind of things. I think you really will dig the Dargaville Museum.
Very much about the pioneering sort of times in New Zealand when they were milling what are the largest trees in New Zealand, and that's the kauri tree. There's it's a really big museum.
Yeah, we have a full guide, a full video on the channel of us doing the kauri museum. It's really cool to do.
Yeah. Nearby to Dargaville is the Trouncen Kauri Park. So this is a place where there still are kauri trees up, and it's a protected area. And also, it's a really good place to spot kiwi birds in their native habitat.
There's also glowworms there.
And glowworms, yeah. And when we actually also have a video on the channel of us visiting, that we also saw freshwater crayfish. We saw weta, which is a big insect in New Zealand. So yeah, if you go after dark, there is a campsite there, even if you wanted to stay there in a campsite.
So you have to have your own car though to go there, because it's about 40 kilometers up north from Dargaville, which is for you, Beverly, I think 40 kilometers is like 22 miles, 22 or 25 or 30 miles, something like that. Not too much, but something around that. Sorry, I don't know the miles conversion in my head, just like that.
If you want to climb a peak in the area, nearby is Toka Toka Peak. So that's about...
climb a peak.
Climb a peak.
It's 20 minutes.
It's if you want to go up somewhere, get some views, which is commonly a good thing to do in New Zealand. So it's a 20-minute walk to the top. So there's that. There's also, on top of the Kauri Museum, there's actually the Dargaville Museum. That's actually within Dargaville itself. I personally think the Kauri Museum is a little bit better, a little bit more going on there. But if you want to check out a different museum... Yeah,
and since you're really into the Maori culture, Beverly, which is great, in the Dargaville Museum, you'll see a Maori waka there. So it's kind of cool to see.
That's cool.
And waka is those really long, thin war canoes. And so it's a really cool site. It's really fun to see. If you don't get to see another one, I mean, there is multiple places where you're going to be able to see some, in the Waitangi Treaty Ground over there, Northland. Even when you're going to go down to the Te Papa Museum, you'll be able to see some really cool Maori artifacts there, which I know you're going to the Te Papa Museum in Wellington, if I'm correct. I think I remember that. Anything else to do in Dargaville, Laura?
So you probably have all heard of 90 Mile Beach, which is like the really famous beach that you can drive on and stuff like that. Well, there's actually a different beach near Dargaville that's actually longer than 90 Mile Beach. It's 101 kilometers. And so you can also go there and drive on it if you want to take that risk with your car.
I don't think we have a video of that on the channel.
No.
However, we do have a video of the Kiwi Lakes, which is not too
Yes.
far from Dargaville either, right?
That's a really nice, sort of outdoor recreational area that you can go to, do a few short walks. There are beaches on the side of the lakes. It's good for swimming if you are visiting in summer.
So you can pair that up with your trip to the Trunson Park, for example, because it's something is up north and it's about 30 kilometers up north, which again is probably around 20 miles, I'd say. The miles ratio is a bit tough. But aside from that, there is a couple of quaint little galleries in Dargaville itself that you can check out, which is always pretty cool. And one of the things that we like the most about that area of Northland and not that many people visit is the Waipura forest, where we did, if you actually find a video of us doing footprint Waipura, you will be able to find us, doing the whole activity. And it's really cool because you basically visit, a really nice old forest with beautiful kauri tree, and there is Maori legend around that. So I really advise you to actually take a guided tour to do that. And so that's something north of Dargaville. I'd say about 60 kilometers, which will say about 30 miles, 35 miles. I'm kind of making the miles up right now, but that's a bunch of things for you, Beverly. All right, what is Kiwi Lauren saying?
She says, yes, 90 Mile Beach, the beach that is not actually 90 miles long.
Nope.
I've never been there, but I've read about it a lot, reading about the Te Araroa Trail. Yeah, so that's the first sort of part of the Te Araroa Trail, and a lot of people say that that's actually one of the toughest parts, because it's the landscape doesn't change for so long. You're on hard, flat, compacted sand surface, so it could be a bit of tough on the legs.
Nice. Okay, so Beverly says, thanks for all that info. By the way, where does one buy a city bus pass? Are there kiosks? So if you're talking about the Auckland kind of city bus pass and everything, in pretty much every convenience store, so we call them dairy, here in New Zealand. And so pretty much any of those, you can just walk in and ask to buy an 80 hop card. So they'll sell you the card and then you can pay to top it up. You can also do it at the bus station. So there is a major bus station at Britomart, which is right in the city center of Auckland. That's a great place to get that as well. But it is quite easy to get those cards. It's not a hard thing to buy.
Yeah, usually like Robin was saying, the dairies that do sell them, they have a little symbol for the, say, 80 hop card or the B card, depending on which city you're in. They all have different names, but
so 80 hop would be for Auckland. So if you have a logo with an 80 and a white circle around, that'd be the one. The B card is in
Dunedin, Queenstown, and Invercargill as well.
I think in Wellington is Snapper cards.
Snapper card in Wellington. But you'll see it will be a colourful sign saying blah blah card, and then you know that is an outlet that sells that card.
Okay, Sherry is a bit of a plant nerd, and she asks, where else can you see kauri trees, Laura?
Okay, so you can mostly see them. It's basically up north starting from the Coromandel area. So in the Coromandel, you have a few walks you can do amongst kauri forests, which are really amazing. The Waiomou Kauri Grove is one of them. But there is a ton in the Coromandel, so that area is really good to go for. And then passing Auckland, when you get more towards Northland region, actually just where we talked about Dargaville, you have the Trounston Kauri Park, Waipua Forest, which is a little bit further up north. That is the most famous place to see kauri trees, and that's where you see the largest kauri trees that are still existing in New Zealand. Although there are kauri forests in the north of the Auckland region, a lot of the walks there have been closed because there is a disease going around that is called kauri dieback, and that damages the roots of the trees, and that's basically where it's they get infected with this disease and it kills the plant. So that's why in Auckland, although there are a lot of kauri trees and forests still existing, just the walks in that area can be harder to access now that they're trying to protect the forests from being devastated by kauri dieback.
All right, so Beverly says, thanks, I will be without a car in Auckland for over a week when I first arrive. You can still pay cash when taking the bus. You will just have to have the correct change, so that may be a better way to kind of take the bus rather than actually having to buy the card, because the card itself has a fee. I think it's about $10 to just buy the card.
I actually think it's about it's between $5 and $10 for the card, and then you have to have a minimum of a $10 top up on the card. But yeah, it depends obviously how much you reckon you're going to be taking the bus and stuff. It is worth doing if you're going to be taking the bus quite a few times while you're in Auckland, and it's also an easier way to pay than with cash as well.
Yeah, so, it is. There is pros and cons of everything for sure. Okay, everybody, we're going to continue with our coverage of the weather-related kind of information you need to know for traveling in New Zealand in April. And now we're going to give you a few recommendations of some of the best places to visit in New Zealand in April, starting with Laura.
Okay, so Wanaka is a good place to visit in April. It's during, obviously, autumn, and there's a lot of beautiful autumn scenery in the Wanaka area because there's a lot of introduced species of trees that do change with the seasons, unlike native New Zealand trees. So if you're looking for that autumn sort of landscape, Wanaka is a good place to go.
Another great place to visit in April in New Zealand is Gisborne, because, well, Laura was talking about all the different trees that you can see. Well, in Gisborne, there is the East Wood Hill Arboretum. The East Wood Hill Arboretum is the largest collection of Northern Hemisphere trees in the Southern Hemisphere. Yes, that is a title that they have. And so at that point, it is, but it's full autumn. So therefore, you get all the trees of all the different colors, and it's absolutely fantastic. Plus, on top of that, the Gisborne area offers world-class wine. So if you're a bit of a wine aficionado, that's going to be pretty awesome. And if you want to dabble into surfing, there's some great entry-level surf areas over there. And with a wetsuit, it's a great thing to do in April.
Speaking of wine, Marlborough region, which is at the top of the South Island, is a really great place to visit in April with its quite usually favourable weather. It's usually a bit drier up there compared to the rest of the South Island. It's also a little bit warmer than the rest of the South Island. So it's a good place to rent a bike, go in, hop around all the different wineries. And if it is a bit of a chilly day, then at least, a couple of glasses of wine will probably warm you up.
Okay, so next up on the list, we have the world-famous Milford Sound. So one of the busiest attractions in New Zealand is awesome to visit in April because, well, it's not that busy. And I love that. I love the fact that you can get the whole sound pretty much to yourself, which is really, really great. Plus, the ever-changing weather in April can give you a bit of a gamble right here. You could have a perfect day in Milford Sound, or you can have an absolute storm of a day. And to be quite honest, I do prefer the storm of a day. There is much more to Milford Sound when it is a terrible weather. You get waterfall on every side of the mountains, and it's just an experience that you will never forget. Check out our videos on Milford Sound and you'll see what I'm talking about.
And finally, we always like to recommend an off-the-beaten-track location. So Taranaki is a good place to go on the west coast of the North Island. You can go hiking in the beautiful Egmont National Park with really amazing forests, trees covered in moss. It looks like something out of a fairy tale. But then there's also the artsy city of New Plymouth with lots of really cool sort of cool shopping, art galleries, museums, the coastal walkway. So just the whole area is really awesome. Great place to visit any time of the year, but especially in April.
What she said. Okay, so the live chat is alive with Kuldeep saying, I'm looking to move there from the UK and I'm trying to find a job from last 5 months, but no luck. Any clue on this? You've got to be in New Zealand to find a job in New Zealand, mate. You've got to actually make the move, come here, and then you'll be able to find a job there. It is very hard to get a job in New Zealand if you're not there. Kiwis are really much like a here and now kind of culture, so they want to be able to hire you and you getting started within the next couple of days. Hiring you from overseas, they don't know if you're going to make it. There's a lot of unknown right here, and Kiwis tend to be adverse to this kind of risk. So you've got to be in New Zealand to find a job in New Zealand. We repeat that all the time, on the channel. It is not hard to get a job in New Zealand once you make it to New Zealand, but you've got to make it to New Zealand first. So we have plenty of tips, extra tips for you if you want about, job search in New Zealand. So I'll show you quickly where to find all those tips in order to help you out a little bit with that. And that's going to be boom right here. Look at that. That is
that is Robin's Gmail.
That is not that. Okay, cool. What is going on? Why is my Gmail right here? Interesting turn of events right here. That's my emails. No, this was correct. Okay,
Coming
here you go.
soon to a screen near you.
Boom, here you
There,
go.
That's better.
So you're on NZ Pocket right here, you click on Work in New Zealand right here, and we have a full thing which is job search tips right here for you, cool dip. And in there you have like, how to create your CV, how to quickly find a job, recruitment agencies you can be using, everything. So you get like really full articles right here. That's going to be very handy for you, my friend. So I think that's the best place for you to actually do your research. All right, what is Beverly saying?
Beverly says, does anyone use a VPN while traveling? Do you use
This video is not sponsored by anyone. I just want to point it out just before. If you have ever watched any other videos than ours on goddamn YouTube, everything is like, oh my gosh, it's sponsored by Yay VPN or Nay VPN or Bore Me VPN. So yeah. Using a VPN while traveling, it's kind of a safe thing to do. It's something that we do. We use the Opera VPN, the one that comes with the browser, although it has had some bad press lately, so we may swap. But yeah, so it is kind of a safe thing to do for sure. And yeah,
we use
some
one,
people, some people use it because they want to stay tuned with their shows. Because one thing that you have to be aware of is that even if you log into your like Netflix accounts and stuff like that, you may see different shows because you're in different geolocation and all that. So yeah, it's just kind of handy at times. I don't know if I want to expand more to that. Yeah, some people use it, some people don't. I don't. Yeah.
I don't have much.
I'm not genuinely. I'm just gonna be honest, right? As a human person, I'm drained from VPN because I'm literally getting advertised VPN about 4 times a day, and I hate. I genuinely go for companies that don't advertise to me at this point because they're just so relentless, right? So I'm not going for like those big brands like ExpressVPN. Hell no. NordVPN. Hell no. I'm gonna go. I will actively find something I haven't heard of just because I do hate those ads so much, and they just get onto the stuff. Anyway, it's just they just get on my entertainment, they get on my I hate it.
So feel free to ask all your questions on the live chat, even if it makes Robin depressed.
Yes, sorry, I just kind of lost all my momentum right here. Just thinking about VPNs, like, oh my god.
Yeah. So yeah. Also for us, like we have travelled without a VPN and not really felt like we needed one. We just happened to have one on our browser when we did eventually have Opera on there because we wanted to browse through something other than Google Chrome. Just, it's always good to support different browsers, different companies. It's better to have diversity rather than
we now recommend Firefox, by the way. We're just cooling off a little bit on Opera.
So now we're gonna go back to Firefox, which doesn't necessarily have an inbuilt VPN, does it?
Yeah, it has features.
It does?
I haven't set up everything yet.
Okay, so
let's just keep that for now.
So yeah, I mean, you do you, Beverly.
She says, I know what you mean, relentless advertising. Yeah, it's really killed my mojo, these things. Nonsense. Okay, so Sherry says, it was nice logging into Netflix when I was in the US. There are so many more TV shows compared to here. Yeah, so a lot of people pair Netflix with their VPN, so therefore they can locate themselves into the US and then log into their Netflix and have access to the shows from the US, right? No one knows what VPN even stands for. Virtual Private Network, if you want to know what that means. What that stands for, Anthony. So here you go.
Robin knows.
Yeah. Robert says, in February, it seemed that every other advertisement on the TV was for the recruitment of correction officers. Maybe a job seeker can look into that angle. Yeah, I'm not sure though with these kind of high-risk positions like that. I think you may have to have some extra requirements which may require you to be like either citizens or... some jobs have these kind of conditions, and I think that's probably why they're struggling to hire people, because they have more requirements for these kind of jobs than there is for, like, example, fruit picking or waiting or just office jobs, right? Okay. What is Rick saying all the way from Berlin, Germany? I didn't forget about where Rick is from. I'm learning.
Rick says, so the 3 months visa extension that is also mentioned on the website doesn't say the requirements that need to be met. Can you guys tell us a bit more? So you're referring to the working holiday visa extension.
If you're not, just tell us, but we'll expand on that.
Yeah, so we do have information on nzpocketguide.com, and that is just for working holiday makers from specific countries. They can extend their their visa by 3 months, and that is with doing a minimum amount of time working in the horticulture or viticulture industry in New Zealand. We do have the conditions listed on the website, actually, if you want to take a look. But Robin can maybe paste the link into the live chat for you. But first of all, you have to already have
Done.
Already be in New Zealand on a valid working holiday visa. So that's the first condition. Your second condition is that you need to have evidence that you have worked up to a total of, at least a total of 3 months working in the horticulture or viticulture industry in New Zealand. It doesn't necessarily have to be full time, but you've showed that you have worked on a regular basis. So you have to have actual sort of evidence that you have done that in New Zealand.
And this kind of job will be picking, packing, maintaining all the crops, doing like any of the pruning, for example, harvesting, this kind of things. Even planting actually does work as well.
Yeah, and then the final condition is that you need to have evidence of an outward travel ticket or at least sufficient funds for one. So
you need to be kind of still like, I'm on the way out. I'm just getting this 3-month extension just so I can explore a bit more of New Zealand.
Yeah.
So that's basically, you do 3 months of kiwi fruit picking basically, and then when you've done that, you basically have a whole year to travel New Zealand and do some of the jobs if you want to. So it's kind of a good, a good combination right here. Mm-hmm. So that's the one for you, Rick. Rick says he's going to do 3 months of kiwi picking. So nice. Where are you going to do kiwi picking, Rick? What's the plan right here? All right. It's usually around that time somebody says something. Where is Anthony?
Anthony has said it, actually. He said, stay safe, but I'm here until the end.
We missed that. Yeah, we missed that one. So, okay, so we've got that. Somebody also asked.
So we got that ticked off the list.
Somebody usually also asks, what is next live session? That's usually Adil that asks that. He's not
we are
here
missing
today,
Adil today. So
I do not know what it is because I haven't done any of the scheduling because my voice is gravelly and I woke up really late. So we will do that at some point this afternoon, and I'll decide that something. Maybe we'll decide with the Patreons during the Patreon live show. So
if you are one of our Patreons, feel free to always give us suggestions of what sort of theme you would like us to cover in these live sessions. And after this live session, every single Sunday, we do have a full hour with our Patreons exclusively. So if you're not a member already, consider being one to get lots of lovely perks.
Sherry said there's no Fabio as well, talking about boots.
No.
Yeah, I don't know why Fabio's not here because he asked for us to look at all the camera and then he's not showing up. It's kind of like...
maybe he'll just show up for the Patreon session.
Yeah, that's what he does. He's an exclusive kind of guy, you know. He doesn't share his boot knowledge with everybody. All right. Cool. So we are changing time then this week. I'm just checking when we are changing time just so everybody knows. So we are changing time. Liti on Sunday next. Oh Lord, we're gonna have no one. Okay, so next week.
Is it going? Are we waking up an hour earlier or an hour later?
Midnight. We are
Probably
gonna be an hour later. Yeah.
Oh, we gotta lie in.
So just if you can make it, work it out. Next week, you can go with your time converter online. Work it out. You're probably going to be the one person watching us. Every year, when there is this change, and it happens to be on the day we have a live show, there is no one showing up. So if you're on an exclusive live show just with you, next week, it's going to be just you and us. Because, that's happening. Yeah. Rick says he doesn't know yet. He's still preparing his full trip for his working holiday. Oh, that's good. That's good that you're prepping and, you're kind of making a bit of a plan. Obviously, it will change, right? Do be aware. Coming on a gap year in New Zealand, it kind of give you the breadth of, having a lot of things unexpected, and you be able to be more spontaneous and go on adventure as you meet people along the way and everything. So don't kind of have too stringent of a plan. We kind of suggest you plan like your first couple of months, right? Your first kind of week, you go and you do all the paperwork that you have to do in Auckland. And we do have Liti, an article on the site saying your first week in New Zealand. We even have a video here on this channel where Liti go over everything you need to do on your first week. Then travel for about 3 weeks to a month. So like that, all the paperwork can be done and you can receive all the numbers, like the IRD number, bank account and everything. And then once you've done that, you have explored a bit of New Zealand, you found a place where you like to base yourself and do a bit of work, and then you can start doing a bit of work. That's the best way to do it, especially for a gap year. Don't plan the whole year, or don't plan too much, right? Just plan, your first week, you know what you need to do. Your first month, travel a bit, and then, bam, off you go. Woo!
Yeah.
All right. Sherry says, I don't know what time it'll be for me. Both of our times are
Yeah.
changing. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. This is what I'm saying. We are going to be lonely. We need to find a subject which is long and lengthy so Laura and I can actually talk for a whole hour and knowing that we're not going to have anyone on the chat. I can't.
That's a good plan, Robin.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about times, daylight savings for an hour.
Oh gosh, can we talk about daylight savings for a whole hour?
Absolutely not. That would kill me. Maybe we can talk about the Canadian weather. Maybe we can teach you the word Saskatchewan.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we can go over there. I mean,
Might
that
take
was
an hour to finally get it. Yeah.
So we'll have to figure something out. Okay, so that's gonna wrap up this live show. Thank you very much for everybody's presence. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you, and that was lively discussion. In about 3 minutes, we're gonna start the Patreon live show. So all the Patreons, you should have your link. Beverly, your link should be either in your Facebook page or in your email. You should have received an email from Patreon. You know you were asking about it. TTFN. What's TTFN? Thanks for the fun now. No, thank. Tempting tower for nerds. Oh.
Toodaloo for now.
Toodaloo for now. Oh, interesting. Oh, tata for
Ta-ta
now.
for now.
You were not too bad. That was fun. I liked it. Toodaloo for now.
Daniel.
Kiwi Lowen says we need to have a Zoom call, and I'll say it for you. Yes, we need to actually do for the Patreon. Sometimes we do Google Hangouts, so I think we should organize a Google Hangout with the next month. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
What's Daniel having to say?
Daniel says, "Hi, Daniel from the Pacific, Chile.
Ooh, Chile.
In 3 more weeks, me and my wife will be arriving in New Zealand. Question: due to autumn and hour change coming, how many hours of daylight are we going to have? Hours of daylight in well, obviously it gets shorter throughout April.
So you never around in autumn in New Zealand, you're never going to get more than 10 hours of daylight in the day. That's about that. This is why they kind of changed the time as well. So about 10 hours of daylight, like proper daylight, is what you can expect around the end of autumn. And getting into winter, then it starts shrinking down to at some point it's only about 8.5 hours. So that's kind of like what you can expect around in New Zealand, Danielle. Awesome that you're going to have 3 weeks trip with your wife. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there'll still be plenty of daylight for lots of fun.
We love April,
stuff.
We love traveling in April. So that's going to be awesome for you, Daniel. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Rick says, thank you for the tips. Have a nice morning. Yeah,
you too.
Have a nice evening, Rick, in Berlin.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, I'm glad we got to squeeze in your question just before the end.
Right at the
as
end.
I was writing up, as I was wrapping up, Daniel, just sneak in with the last minute question. I like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this last score on the last few minutes. I get the commentator excited. I love it. All right, everybody. You have a lovely week. We see you next week at the same time for the NZ Travel Show. Actually, at a different time. Work it out. There is a time
8
change.
8 a.m. New Zealand time. Next week
time.
we will be here.
Yeah, Daniel, try to make it. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you next week.